All right, guys. Good morning, good evening, good night. Another episode of Layer 1. We are coming at you live on this Monday. We're going to have another great episode per usual. Dimitri's sitting there. I'm sitting here. It's been a great week, man. I cannot wait to get to this episode. What's going on?
Yeah, man. So much crazy stuff happening in crypto. It's quite exciting, compared to where we've been. So looks like things are picking up quickly and lots of great news. So I can't wait to get into that.
Yeah, we got some stuff coming from the lads here as well. So we've got Scott in the chat. He's saying, yo, what's going on, Scott? As we get started up here, we're going to drop some lads information to all you guys. So we appreciate you guys hopping in the channel. Let me go through some of the stats from this past week. Top 5 countries are going to be U.S. Australia hopped in front of U.K. this week. So U.K. is going to be third. Indonesia, and then Canada. Top 3 episodes is going to be Reserve. That episode from Reserve's absolutely killing it this week. We've got Nem Ventures and Aave. Stanny's episode was awesome there. This week, we've got Dimitri's Desk on Tuesday. We got an NFT Live episode on Tuesday as well. Dapper and Flow, as well as NFT Live on Thursday, and then Kava Labs and Dimitri's Desk. So that's kind of a wrap up of this week. So what's going on, man? What's the information that we're going to be shilling everybody this week? Kind of coming to them with the nice info. Certainly DeFi's been killing it. What else is going on in your neck of the woods as far as crypto is concerned? Because I feel like 2017, man, was the last time it's been this crazy in crypto, and I know Scott is feeling the same way based on his story earlier this morning. So
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely crazy vibes from back in the day during the ICO whole boom and everything. I saw your tweet. It was pretty funny. It's like, your buddy was like asking you about some kind of, or you were saying about this token, and you were trying to explain what it is, and he was like, I don't care, man, send me the address, bro. Like I'm in. So it's like, it's crazy, and that's what's happening right now. People are just dropping into some of these tokens without doing any type of due diligence, and we will cover some of these that kind of like crash and burned, and some of them that were kind of like contracts that were scams and people got scammed. So I want to raise awareness during this time, because I mentioned this on the desk a little bit too, is that in this market, in the bull market that we have right now, the scammers are working overtime right now, right? And that's something you guys got to be vigilant when it comes to making sure that you are buying whatever token you're buying. And if it is not a scam, like it has a team and at least a website behind it,
Yep.
kind of brings back that vetting process that we used to do back at ICOs.
Yeah, 100%, man. We got a ton of stuff to cover as far as DeFi goes. So Heels in the chat saying sup lads. It definitely gives off an ICO vibe. I know you were pulling up the Bitcoin market or dominance chart early this morning. There was kind of a little bit of a vibe of maybe 2018, but also 2017. Love for you to riff on that while we get started here. What do we make of this market right now as far as Bitcoin's dominance in altcoins? I know we're doing some Dimitri's Desk a little bit, but certainly you can give a little info. Chill mega chills in the chat talking about the big Dimitri. So I'm sure we're having a good time here. So
yeah, it's a great Monday. But yeah, so we're just like talking about like, hey, some people might be saying, hey, the pullback is coming and so on, right? But when you look at the alt market cap, you can see that thing is just blasting, right? And right now, where alt market cap is where we used to be in 2018 in June. And if you pull it up on a weekly, you can see like, it's still got room to go. And as long as we have alt market cap going higher, BTC dominance going lower, even with BTC going higher now, that just shows you that the overall risk sentiment is still skewed to the side of chasing the yield for these traders. So therefore, they're going to be, pouring in money into some of these alts. And the interesting part is that we do have like crazy big people that are now getting into Bitcoin and alts. It's like, what?
Yeah, we even had Portnoy come over, which is a story we'll get to in quick news. But Portnoy sat down with the Winklevoss twins. I mean, that story alone would be big enough to like hold a whole week. The fact that Portnoy's sitting and getting everybody who's on Barstool kind of involved in Bitcoin and more comfortable with Bitcoin. I know he bought like OXT this morning. He was saying something about the Orchid token, and we pump and dump. So Gemini definitely has to worry about what's going on their exchange with the pumping and dumping that's going on. We got a ton of people in the chat here. Do you want to get to some of these comments, man?
Yeah.
What's going on?
My man, Chill, Mega Chill, looks like he's been lurking and following us for a while. Great content. Yeah, my man, you got it. Welcome to LADZ. Make sure you join our Telegram group so you can start earning these LADZ before, essentially it's listed. Scott is in chat. Looks like he lost quite a bit of money and several yells. BitConnect looks like he's talking about COVID crash. He needs to pick up some of the legitimate, well-researched projects. Yeah, absolutely. Those can be pretty hard. It's funny. I did have a story about one of my friends that got into crypto for the first time, and I asked him, and he was like, "Nah, man, that thing is a scam." And I was like, "Oh, what happened?" And he was like, "Well, I bought BitConnect." And I was like, wow. So your first experience in crypto is BitConnect. Yeah. Like, how many people out there that it happened to? It's crazy.
It reminds me of when anybody brings up the exchange hacks that happen with Bitcoin, and somehow that is related to Bitcoin when it's really not at all. It's this third party. But we have a ton of people in the chat right now, man. 17 of you guys showed up early for this episode. Guys, this is Layer1Live. We do this every Monday where me and Dimitri sit down. We talk crypto markets. We hang out with the lads. We talk the lads community. We've got an update to get to you this week. We've got Uniswap this week. We've got token art that we're going to kind of put out that bounty here in a second to the lads community. So if you guys are watching right now, we appreciate you guys hopping in the channel. The Telegram link there at the bottom is going to get you into the private lads community, man. We've been growing that. This has been a awesome month as far as lads growth goes. What's going on?
No, I'm just looking at this comment from Harry Krishana. What about Curve? CRV is the right time to buy, and I just pulled it up, and it's trading at $4.43.
Aren't you happy you got in at like $65 at one point?
Dude, I actually got in to Curve at like what was it? It was like 40.
Yeah, I remember.
And then I got out at like 50, bro. It was so close. I'm glad I did that because and it's kind of like what I to respond to, it's what I've talked about on Dimitri's desk, how to last episode, how you should take a look at Curve and see the more circulating supply gets unlocked, the more it's going to get destroyed as far as the price goes. So this is kind of what's been happening with Curve.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with Curve as well, where I kind of like right before I was going to sleep, it was the Eastern Standard Time. I know like it like hit Uniswap and what have you, and everybody was trying to FOMO in, and you saw that big run up to like 60. I think it like topped out at like 68. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was not trying to like stay up any longer than like 2 a.m. So I eventually just sold probably around like $50 where you're talking about, but woke up in the morning, that thing was like $10. I was like, thank God, man. Yeah. So yeah, we're shitcoining here, guys. This is peak alt season FOMO feels from us, man. I think I got into Haka this morning, just like random ass DeFi coins that we're getting into here. We appreciate you guys following along and dropping some of your bags as well, so that we can talk everything DeFi, everything crypto that's going on right now. Without further ado, let me get into this LADZ weekly update though, because that was super important. We pretty much have a Substack blog where all the information kind of lives for the most part as far as Layer 1 comes. And then we put out a weekly update every week. So this is Monday. We do this every Monday. If you missed it from this past week, that will be the first monthly LADZ utility update was released. You guys can go again to our Substack and look at this. But here's what's to come this week. LADZ liquidity is added to Uniswap. We're working on that, guys. This is definitely a big portion of value that's I guess that we want to give to the LADZ token. Obviously, we have to be careful with the way that we word things. This is not investment advice. This is not a token that's going to be some type of security or anything like that, but we are planning on doing some LADZ liquidity. We'll touch on a social token aggregator, kind of like a coin market cap for social tokens later in the episode that we'll show, which shows like YAM and Karma and a couple others. What are some Alex and all these social tokens? Kind of shows the market caps and the percentages and the volume and different information on that. So here's what we got this week. Again, LADZ liquidity. We've got a token art bounty that we'll get to. NFT Live is going to be going live tomorrow during that KOGs sale, and then Dapper and Kava are obviously going to be in there. So we had a couple other things. I know I minimized that really quick, but we had Yearn come through for us. Let me see if I can't pull this up. The community recap is going to highlight Yearn here. So Yearn has been one of the most engaged lads in the community for a long time, and he actually got up to 1,050 of these lads. So he actually got access this morning to the LADZ HQ Discord. So obviously Discord is going to be a way that the community can interact together. It definitely has more functionality than Telegram. That's something we've been talking about for a little bit. We want to kind of add this Discord platform without taking away anything from Telegram, and we're working on ways we can do that. But up to this point, you need to have 1,000 lads to get access. That's going to be dynamic going forward, so it likely will cost more and more as we go forward for new people to get into that Discord. But I wanted to say, Yearn, thank you so much for being involved in lads, in the community for this long. We sincerely appreciate it. Your effort does not go unnoticed, and you are the whale of lads right now. So the last thing I'll say right here as we go for lads community, we added 6 new members. You can see those there. There is the lads leaderboard there. We have the content from the past week as well. So definitely go to our Substack, guys. It's in the description there. You guys can follow along. You can sign up, and then you can be alerted whenever we drop anything from the community. I know that was a big one, but yeah, that's pretty much it. We had the Bitcoin stakes. Do you want to cover Bitcoin stakes at all this week? There was something that happened on that.
So just to kind of clarify a few things. Yesterday I was super wrecked, so I got hit with like something. I was not feeling well, basically. And so I was setting up these Bitcoin stakes predictions, basically, that we do weekly, where it just like community votes on where BTC is going to end up. Well, I was so wrecked, I missed, a range between the 11.8 and 12K. And the community was like, basically picking on me. But it doesn't matter because BTC ended up over 12K anyway. So so I was just taking out the range so people don't lose,
You're trying to help them out.
Yeah, exactly. So looking at there's a bunch of winners that picked above 12K. We have Zach Lee, we have Metanix, Yassine, Buffalo, Suhail, Crypto Asia, Metacrypto, Manuel, Thomas from Blockmove. We got our good old Mike Finch, Manos.
So who didn't pick above 12K? God damn. That's the whole group at this point.
Yeah, I know. It was me that didn't pick above 12. They asked me if I'm bullish now, because my nickname here in the lads is Ukrainian Bear. And my answer to that is no. I'm just a very capitulated bear.
Bullish on bears a little bit here in the chat.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Well, we got 18 of you guys in the channel. We appreciate you guys stopping by. Leave you a like. If this is your first time here, this is Layer1Live. We're covering the entire crypto market after we cover the lads. We got to touch on lads first. So this is the, so he was talking lads market cap. That will be coming. We'll touch on that here in a second. The last thing we have to get to from the community is a lad shout out. So Buffalo left a awesome message in the chat when he was introed into the group. I think he was talking about how he was doing NFTs. He wants to get involved with what Ronan and myself are doing on NFT Live. I checked out some of his content. He was like an RV guy back in the day. He was like living in his RV and documenting it for like 3 years. So definitely a good addition there to the lads. We'll see what he does going forward. So appreciate all you guys hopping in. What are we at right now? We're about 17. So this is the news for the day, guys. We got breaking news. We're going to hit on some Link. We're going to hit on some Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi has been killing it. I think me and Dimitri are not in Wi-Fi, so
Nope.
that's the shaking of the heads there. We're gonna hit some interesting quick news. We're gonna touch on YAM for our discussion, as well as voice in that discussion, and then we'll hit Ethereum, EOS, DeFi, and NFTs to wrap up the episode. So ton of stuff to get to this week, but we can start with a Charlie Lee situation in Link. What's going on? The devs are selling the top.
Yeah. So this, there's some headline that's coming through basically from blockchain analysis that tracks addresses to figure out if, let's say something interesting is happening in terms of the insiders, maybe selling their holdings. And this article talks about how there's 40 million worth of Link this month that was essentially sold by some, by the devs at Link. And it kind of goes into saying that they've been selling 500,000 links every week. And it basically talks about how some of the devs, I guess, that are selling, which is something that can be interpreted as FUD, but really, when you think about it, these devs do need to scale out sometimes, right? They do need to book in some profits so they can continue to build and do all these great things that they're doing with Link. Because if you read more in this report, it does talk about how it was 50 million of Link, I guess, that has been sold. But that's just a small portion from the bigger portion that they still have, which is 350 million actually 300 million that the devs still have. So you have to think about it. Yeah, maybe they're scaling out a small portion for now, but they still have a lot locked in, and we can see the way the Link is trading. It seems like it's eating up a lot of the selling pressure, so it's not bad for some of these guys to book in some profits, take in some cash, diversify a little bit, right? Because if they're sitting just in Link, then from a financial standpoint, it's not really the best thing, right? So it should not be interpreted as FUD, because these guys don't want to sit in a single asset, right? Yeah, they believe in it, and they're working on it. That's why they're holding a big amount of it, and they scale a little bit. But in general, this scaling out a little bit is not a big deal for them.
Yeah, I know Charlie Lee got a lot of crap for doing that to LTC back in the day. I think people were upset or people within the Litecoin community were upset that he somehow found the top and was dumping on everybody that was holding at that point, and that seemed to be the top for LTC back then. So, but I definitely appreciate your point. There also is a comment to be made on not holding ETH and actually having these Link tokens and being able to kind of diversify into maybe USD and things like that, as opposed to maybe ETH and things like that. So yeah, this was an interesting story, man. The devs need to have the lights on. So I appreciate that context there from that. Joe King's in the chat. He left us $5. Joe, we appreciate you, man. We put this in the weekly update, but all the money you guys are donating, man, we're reinvesting into Layer 1. We're reinvesting into the LADZ so that we can kind of bring you guys better content. So we appreciate that donation there, Joe. We will definitely keep up the content. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
I wanted to just mention that that thing with the LTC that happened. That was a little bit different in a way, because Charlie was saying, hey, listen, I'm dropping my bags because I don't want to have conflict of interest, which is so bullshit. Like, that was a completely different thing. I think interesting one to compare it to is kind of like, if you really want to kind of FUD this a little bit, is the Ethereum Foundation dumping ETH at the top when doing the bull market. Remember that story?
No, actually.
Yeah. So Ethereum Foundation was actually there was a whole big thing about it where they actually scaled out of ETH when it was trading in like 1200. And they were basically dumping it as it was trading at those highs, and then obviously dumped a lot from there. But it's kind of like you're saying, relating to Link. Some of these, they want to scale out and diversify. They don't want to find themselves kind of stuck in one thing, and it's kind of goes back to that hedging, right? When we were talking about ICOs back in the day when they would collect ETH, they would not hedge it, they would sit just in ETH. And guess what? When the market turned around, all of them got destroyed, right?
Yeah.
So they don't want to do that anymore, right? The market has matured, the participants have matured, and those that are smart, they're gonna, hold some bag of their own network tokens, and then also diversify some of the holdings into other stuff.
Yeah, it was interesting. We were back at ICO Alert, and we would have calls with different ICOs or different projects that held an ICO, and Dimitri would be on the call with them, and literally, and I'm not going to name drop any of them, but he would be like, "So like, how are you diversifying your assets? Like the assets, the ETH that you raised, the $20 million worth of ETH or what have you?" And they were basically like, "Yeah, we're not." We're keeping it in ETH. We want to like ride this up. And certainly some people probably 2x their ICO gains, but there were other teams that probably lost it all. We know specifically of teams that lost it all because they kept all of their raised funds in ETH. So definitely a lot of great points there, man. I appreciate your context there. I'm going to touch on this last bit of quick news before we get to the chat. We do have a couple questions. YFI has obviously seen a huge influx of interest, influx of volume, pretty much everything that you could say about YFI. Andre Khan, I always mess up his name, but Andre Kranhe created YFI to kind of be a aggregator of interest where you could actually like automate and via this token be able to go into the liquidity pools and be able to whichever was like driving the most interest, you would be able to have this Y token and it automatically did it. So it was kind of like a robo-advisor for chasing the yield within DeFi if you had to TLDR it. So YFI actually just announced something new. Obviously, like that's what they're doing as a full team, which is just innovating on different primitives. So this is actually insurance. And if I had to do a TLDR, because there's no way we could sit here and kind of break down DeFi for you down to its nuts and bolts. But basically, there are going to be three components that are going to be added via this insurance. So we have insurer vaults, insured vaults, and claim governance. And basically what you guys have to understand via this article is that now via this DeFi primitives feature, there's going to be insurance on top of some of the tokens and assets that they have within their platform. So there's going to be an insurer that's going to be providing this insurance, and there's going to be insured individuals that pay into this insurance, and then there's going to be governance via the insurers. So again, don't want to get too involved here, but basically they're tokenizing insurance. Obviously we've seen, and I'd like Dimitri to kind of touch on this, we've seen the unwinding of some assets and people kind of being left in the dirt essentially when this does happen. So the ability to have an insurer and a claim governance, so somebody that certainly like was, I guess, providing a claim, these insurers would then kind of have a governance process, a voting process, and then the insurer or the insured could actually get a claim paid out to them. So what do you think about this whole kind of this whole concept that Andre is kind of building via YFI? And I think it has a lot to do with what you saw in the price action today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're doing super cool stuff at Aave. This is one of them.
Well, Wi-Fi.
No, or Wi-Fi. Sorry. Yeah, and it's obviously going to be an experiment. We'll see how that's going to work. It sounds pretty good on paper, but also, speaking of Wi-Fi, it's interesting to see that Arthur Hayes is farming it right now as well. He's also been farming YAM back in the day. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the episode. But it's an interesting concept, right? It's also going to be interesting to see if there's going to be a vault where everything's going to be set up there. It does kind of put a bullseye from the hacking standpoint, right? Too. So there's a risk there as well in terms of that being a honeypot. But we'll see what's going to happen. And Wi-Fi has been doing pretty good, obviously. It does have a pretty good functionality. The reason why the token is trading so high is because of the supply that's available there. So, it seems legit.
Yeah, definitely. Wi-Fi is definitely one of the more legit teams. Sorry, we just had some issues there, kind of pulling that up, guys. But yeah, we'll move on to the next stuff. Trader left us $5 Trader, we appreciate you, man. Again, we get all these donations and we're reinvesting that right into Layer 1. So we appreciate all that. So we'll get on to the next piece, Dimitri, but it looks like I'm having some technical difficulties on my end. So if you could get to that next piece, I would appreciate that very much.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of Arthur Hayes, let's hop into some quick news. So if you've been, you might have heard that Bitcoin exchange BitMEX adds KYC for all of its users, and it's there's a lot of mixed opinions right now on Twitter about it and so on. Right, everybody's talking about how, hey, that's it. BitMEX is going to be losing a lot of traders and so on, all this stuff. But this is something that has been coming for a while. It was probably in fall of 2019 when some people started identifying where BitMEX was actually hiring compliance officers and all these KYC people for positions, right? It's not like they were hiring it just for fun, right? People knew that eventually BitMEX is starting to move towards KYCing some of these clients. And Arthur did come out and said, hey, listen, the game has changed. Like, you have to do things legit. And listen, yeah, if you push in that much volume, that much money through, through the platform, come on, you kind of have to do KYC with that stuff. And but the interesting part is that I think it's not going to hurt BitMEX in general, is because overall, there's a lot of funds and OTC providers, institutional traders that have been using BitMEX for some time because of the liquidity and the products that are available there. So that's really who pushes the most volume, right? And the retail traders do push some volume too, right? But BitMEX has been moving towards the phase of institutional more. And for those institutional clients, it's actually better for them that the KYC process is going to be in place, because then they can, legally operate, with that exchange and not worry about the fact that their, Bitcoin and holdings are going to be lost. So I think the overall institutional side for BitMEX is going to pick up even more with the KYC in place. So I think we're still going to see BitMEX dominate as far as the volume goes. There's going to be a pour out of retail traders that are going to probably hop into some other platforms right now, like Bybit, for example. But overall, BitMEX I think is still going to be doing very, very well with the institutional interest that's going to be coming in to replace the retail side of it.
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made on the decentralized versus centralized exchanges that's kind of pouring around the community, as we've seen Uniswap gain more volume, as we've seen a lot of these decentralized exchanges get more volume. What is going to be that relationship going forward? Are decentralized exchanges going to be taking all the retail users? Certainly there's more retail users out there that are coming into crypto that will have no idea how to do that. But I think there's definitely a debate to get to. What do you make of the centralized exchange versus decentralized exchange approach as it comes to retail investors?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good question. Well, if you compare like centralized exchanges, like for example, like BitMEX and a couple others, they do offer leverage, right? We haven't seen leverage on decentralized exchanges yet, if I'm correct, right? I guess you could do loans and borrowing there, right? And lending and borrowing, that's kind of like using leverage, but it's not to the extent that we see that on centralized exchanges. I believe SNX Synthetics, King was talking about setting up like a decentralized BitMEX platform, and we're gonna have them soon on our episode where we can dig into more of the features and the things that are available there. But I think the great success for decentralized exchanges right now is coming from basically these new tokens that are coming out, and a lot of these alts and so on, right? I think that's really the majority of the success that DEXs are having right now, rather than, I would say, maybe BitMEX doing KYC right now, right? So because we've seen DEXs doing pretty well actually way before the KYC really started, for BitMEX or so on. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll touch on this last bit of quick news. Before we do that, though, I have to go back. There's a ton of comments that are being left in the channel, so we got to go back and look through these. We had AdsCan2 saying that I believe he was saying something about where is it? I lost it. Hello all, and the hype is in the air. Yeah, the hype is definitely in the air we had Scott come in and talk about being green now. We had some questions on Curve and when to pick that up. Guys, this isn't investment advice. Curve is definitely an interesting play, though. I don't know exactly where you get in. Certainly, what is it trading at now? $4?
Yeah, last time I checked, those 443.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
443 is an interesting point for Curve. Obviously, we have a lot going on within DeFi. Certainly, it was before the supply started to get fill the market a little bit. We saw that YOLO all the way up to something like $68 or something like that. But yeah, Curve's an interesting point. We'll get to that later in the episode. Definitely want to give our opinions on what we think of Curve. We appreciate you guys in the chat right now. I think we've got 28 or 29. So there's some other comments that I wanted to get to here. In your opinion, is it normal to be cashing out a bit in times of crisis? I think we can all agree that that would probably be an ideal case if you are holding these funds. Definitely want to cash out so that you almost have a road to go if there is some kind of crisis.
yeah, absolutely. And I think he's referring to the I'm not sure if he's referring to the crisis that today crisis or the previous crisis that we had. It's kind of hard to say that there's a crisis in crypto right now with the way things are going, but there's definitely a crisis in the world, economically, even though the stock market doesn't really reflect that, right? But yeah, I mean, it's you can always take some chips off the table. Absolutely, that's fine to do, especially given the situation that we're in right now, where it's like the really economic stuff doesn't really dictate the valuations that we're in right now, right? So
yeah, it's funny, the conversation that we have in Parada sometimes is you never went broke taking profits, but what do you say back to that always?
yeah, well, you never you never became rich either,
So it definitely is a balance there that you guys
Yeah.
have to play, that each kind of man has to make for himself. So a couple other comments before we get to the rest of the quick news. He says, I think Sahil was talking about Link having most of the team or most of the wallets, or some small amount of wallets holding most of the tokens, about 80%. I haven't looked at the token distribution there, so I can't really comment on that. I don't know if Dimitri can, but Mr. Fatface is saying, will you guys talk about the USPS patent on blockchain-based voting? Renee is talking about cashing out some into precious metals. Gene is saying, can someone please tell me, is it a bad idea to hold Curve long-term if you're not farming it? So we've had a lot of Curve comments. Certainly we had them in the thumbnail, and then we're going to get to some of the volume that's locked up within Curve right now. I think long-term, there's obviously going to be a lot of supply that's coming in that's being dumped on the market via these farmers. So if you're not farming it, I would maybe learn how, if that's something that you're interested in, because then you're not kind of left up to the market and the token economics there. But you definitely have a situation where Curve can be a top project. I would love to see the fully diluted market cap at this point when it's at $4, because that was one of the issues, right? Like, it came out of the gate, like literally that first listing, and that there was another story to go along with it, but it came out the gate, I think, higher than Bitcoin, right? That was the story. So that was definitely interesting. You always got to look again at that total market cap. But what do you make of Curve at this moment at $4?
Yeah, so and that's what I've been talking about on the desk in terms of all right, listen, here's how you calculate the market cap of this thing, right? Where it's trading right now, and what is the circulating supply. You calculate the market cap, and then you make an assessment. Listen, hey, is this the fair market valuation of it, right? If the market cap is higher than Ethereum, then you might be asking the question, is this legitimate or not, right? Come on, guys, let's be real. But to answer your question, in terms of fully diluted valuation, it's clocking in at 14 billion, and that is the same as XRP. So if you think about this, right, at the current price of $4.43, if the fully diluted is 14 billion and it's clocking in at XRP levels, this would signal that Curve can even go lower, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you'd say that, let's say Curve is gonna be clocking in somewhere closer to some of its competitors, right, that are out there, like who is it? I mean, some of these DeFi projects, like I don't know, even like look at SNX and Land and so on, right? Um, like those have like half a billion market cap, right? So
Hmm.
it's like that's what, or Aave has 725 million, right? So if Aave is doing so much stuff and it's got 725 million market cap, then how the hell you think a fully diluted curve is going to be at 14 billion with the stuff that they're doing right now, right? So their market cap right now at the moment looks like it's about 40 million,
Hmm.
but you just have to keep in mind the more stuff that gets opened up, the more curve gets opened up to as far as the circulating supply goes, that number as far as the price is going to reflect that new supply in the market. So
Hmm.
farmers are basically making money, and those guys that are buying curve might be end up holding the bag for now. So it's going through price discovery, it's going through some interesting stuff. I would probably avoid it for now.
Definitely. Okay, so we have another donation. Ads Can Too, guys. You are filling us up with donations today, so we appreciate you guys. Ads Can Too is talking about pumping my Telos. So I'm gonna pull up the Telos chart here. We had my man Douglas Horn on back in the day. This was probably almost a year ago. He was like one of the first 10 guests on Layer 1. That was awesome to have him here. So we've got Telos up on the screen now. Dimitri, if you want to pull that up too. But yeah, I mean, I haven't looked into the Telos ecosystem. Obviously, they're a sister chain of EOS. It looks like they're doing fairly well based on what I'm seeing here on the 90-day chart. I think if you zoom out to like more than a year, 180, they definitely had a situation where they were kind of falling with the rest of the market until kind of they pretty much ranged, for the entire time that we've seen kind of the DeFi space. This is kind of similar to what we've seen with the rest of layer ones, though. To be honest, I mean we have seen other layer ones like Polkadot. I think EOS just literally came and had that little run up last week. That was fun. I'm gonna have a good time with that moon thread that I put together as we go forward. As long as EOS keeps going up, I'm gonna continue posting in that moon thread. But yeah, Telos is an interesting one, man. As a sister chain of EOS, they're doing a lot of good things. Douglas is always on the horn without getting too punny there. But I haven't, dumped into, the Telos ecosystem and kind of looked around. So ads, if you can tell us, what's going on with Telos, maybe we can pull that up on the screen for you. But definitely good to see that EOS ecosystem kind of pulled up. So
When Telos DeFi.
yeah, I'm sure everybody's trying to get in. Douglas is, I bet, talking about that as well. All right, guys, the last bit of quick news. It feels like the last 7 days have been like a year, man. It feels like a month at least. We haven't even touched on YAM, which was a huge piece of news on like Tuesday. And then by literally 7 days later, when we're talking about it here on Layer 1, it feels like it happened a year ago based on all the stuff that's been happening with Curve. But this would be a big piece of news if all of this other stuff wasn't going on, and that is Portnoy sitting down with the Winklevoss twins. This was a kind of a meme, obviously, situation where you kind of had literally Portnoy on a computer. Winklevoss came over to his house and tried to explain Bitcoin to him. Somehow they got into this weird dynamic where they were talking about gold being in mines, and Elon Musk was going to drive down the price of gold because he was going to mine the asteroid. Like, just they could have gone any other route. They could have gone any other.
I feel like when they were talking about it, the edibles hit them, and they started like talking about all this stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's doing God's work a little bit, so we definitely appreciate the Winklevoss guys like going out there and sitting down with Portnoy, because he's essentially now become, like, within the course of 24 hours, 48 hours, he's now gonna obviously do what we expected him to do, which was degen into these altcoins with us. I think he bought he sent out a tweet that he was buying OXT this morning. So that was a big piece of news. We'll see what that does to OXT's price. Let's see if the president can move any of these small market cap tokens.
Yeah, it was super interesting to see him get into it. Hopefully he doesn't become like McAfee. Starts pumping all these tokens like for money. But I don't think he's like that. Just like it's interesting to see him get in. And the last video he talked about, it's like where he was like, okay, I'm buying this alt token, but I can't tell you what it is until I buy it, because they told me, I have to buy it first and then tell people what I bought. And it's interesting stuff about this crypto is that the pump and dump is actually encouraged in crypto, unlike in the stock market where the SEC comes after you when you do this. In crypto, it's actually encouraged, so it's like hilarious. This guy is obviously very entertaining. He does have a huge following. The only thing is about Portnoy is that they've been asking him to get into crypto for a while, right? But the only thing is that a lot of his followers don't really have the capability of like the understanding of crypto yet, right? So they're still new to it, right? And some of them might be turned off, some might not even get in. But those that do get in and start researching more because of his following, that's really going to drive a lot of more demand for it too. So it'd be interesting. He also picked up Link as well, so he's doing well on that.
Yeah, because the Link guys need more help pumping their token.
Yeah.
Literally the biggest missed opportunity that ever existed. Whoever bought Link guys at the bottom or any way on the way up, congratulations to you, man. You guys are living the good life this year. So we got another couple comments. Gene is asking the community now. So he's throwing out a lifeline to the community, asking, does anybody hold Curve? Does it make sense to hold if you're not farming? So he got our opinion. Now he wants to see from the community. You guys drop it. You guys drop the knowledge if you guys have it. We've got Smooth Musical. Manila's talking about Pump SLP. So the SLP token, I'm not sure. Is that the Axie token that he's talking about? Yeah, that's the Axie token. So yeah, Axie. Axie's coming out with their own governance token here shortly, so they're gonna have this like dual token setup. SLP definitely had its run up for a little while, so yeah, it's interesting to see these NFT tokens, man. I've been keeping my eye on Rari. I've been keeping my eye on Sand. We'll touch on in a little bit. There's a ton of NFT tokens that I'm super interested in. SLP being one of them. But they are definitely launching another token on Axie shortly, so I don't know what that does for SLP. We'll touch on it. So
yeah, Gene looks like he I don't know, we're waiting for more clarification. He says 10K link holder here. So
we got a whale.
We got a whale. Yeah, so and also like, his question, Gene, here for the CRV as far as the long-term hold. I'm not sure what your long-term as far as the time frame goes, but hey, keep one thing in mind. If you're holding Curve for a longer time, you have to understand that Curve is going to perform as the overall DeFi sector performs. So if we do have unwinding that will happen and a correction in the markets, that will impact Curve as well. So just be careful, man.
Yeah, we're going to touch on YAM here in a second, which is another big DeFi player that seemingly like that, other than the Curve launch, which we haven't even touched on the Curve launch. You touched on Dimitri's desk, but that like in and of itself could have filled a whole Layer 1 episode. And I would love to maybe get some of the Curve guys on. But essentially what happens is they had all this code for the launch open source. So some guy went in and took the code and launched the contract and basically like put it on Uniswap. Everyone was like, oh no, this is fake. It ended up being the right code. Or it ended up being the right token based on the original code, the open source software there. And the team then launched the rest of the product on to that piece of code, I guess. I know that's like super in quotations. It's generalizing. I'm painting with a broad brush. But that's exactly what happened. And there were definitely a lot of conspiracy theorists that came in and said, hey, no, the Curve guys actually... it was the Curve guys the whole time. I know there was an interesting portion where within that time period where they launched, where this anonymous guy launched the actual project, that there was like a pre-mine that happened, like something like 200,000 Curve tokens were mined in that little window of 30 minutes before it was launched. So ton of other things. I know there's people complaining that they should have forked Curve at that point. Maybe have a Curve Classic to launch to. I know that's getting super down in the weeds, but basically, yeah, the team decided to go with this code that was open source that some guy pushed before them, and that's what we had. That's where we have now with what's going on with Curve, man.
Yeah. I mean, with the curve story, like it's, to be honest, I think it went that way where it's like somebody from the community ended up pushing it through. The curve team probably was pretty salty because they could have, again, when they launched the contract, they have kind of the first dibs on providing liquidity,
Mm-hmm.
mining curve, and doing all this beautiful stuff before it continue, it pumps. But even before it was released, all right, even before it was released, with that contract was released by the community, somebody released a fake one,
Mm.
and that thing went up to like 4,000. And somebody was saying that there was like this bigger market cap than like BTC, and comes to find out that that was actually a fake curve address. So then what happened was, after that, they released, a community member released that real curve contract, and everybody was still spooked. They were like, wait, is this the real thing? They're
Yep.
waiting for confirmation from the curve team, right? And curve team was like in shock. It was like, wait a minute, like what the hell? Like we didn't release it. Let me take a look. And they take a look, and it was perfectly fine. The code was actually exactly what the curve was going to deploy, and they were like, okay, well, I guess we're rolling it, with this, because I think overall the fork could be dangerous. It's like, what is the point of doing the fork if it's
Yeah.
two the same codes, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
two exactly the same codes, right? We don't need to do a fork. This decentralization, right? This is in the hands of the people now, right? So Curve is they just have to roll with it now.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's the story.
I would push back there a little bit just because those guys that did get in did like have the opportunity of farming, I think whatever, like 200K, some type of pre-mine was set up. So that's a situation where you look at it and you're like, okay, we still haven't launched, we still haven't deployed as a team. Everyone has the trust is with the team, not with the contract there. And if you just fork the code there, those guys get cut out, and then you go forward with the correct distribution. The one thing I will say is there were a bunch of listings. So there was a Binance listing. I think there was a
Mm-hmm.
Huobi listing. All these different things. I wonder if that didn't play into it. I mean, these things happen like 24 hours after
Yeah.
the deployment. I wonder if maybe the Curve team, had set up all this infrastructure with Binance, with all this stuff to launch. Now, if they forked it, all of that stuff
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened. I wonder if that didn't play into them saying, all right, we're just gonna go with this shit.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but you also got to think about if it wasn't pre-mined by those guys, could have been probably pre-mined by the Curve guys
Mm,
or somebody else. This also could be at play. So you never know. But
yeah.
I don't know. In general, I think it's fine. Just roll with it. It is out. You know,
Just
deal with it. You
just
know.
yeah, deal with it. That should be the slogan of DeFi.
Yeah.
Deal with this shit.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got, speaking of like, bull markets, and speaking of kind of the pump and dumps, and this isn't a dump or anything. This is a straight pump. We hit all-time high watching viewership here with 31. So that was an
Nice.
all-time high for Layer1Live. We appreciate you guys. I think we have about 28, 29 of you guys in the channel right now. We're talking DeFi. It's kind of getting mixed up. Obviously, DeFi is like it's saturating itself within every combo that's ever existed. Even the damn Peter McCormick interview with Vitalik this morning, where McCormick just, I kind of,
What's your
yeah, I mean,
favorite interview, right?
yeah, well, he started off the thing by saying he's not a Bitcoin maximalist, and that's when you want to shut it off, because he literally has no idea about anything else. Like they touched on DeFi, they brushed DeFi, and he was like, no, we can't have that discussion because my viewers don't understand anything. And I think we, in the beginning with Layer 1, we were trying to do that, right? Like we were like, oh, how do we dumb the information down? It's like, no, dude, just talk about what the things are to be talked about. Don't like make it seem like your, viewership is like 8 years old. You guys know what you guys know. Hopefully we're here and you guys are kind of leading to us gaining more knowledge as well, but we hope to do vice versa. But to not like touch on these things that are happening because all you care about is Bitcoin is, it just, that's off my soapbox, guys. Sorry, I got super heated. Do not listen to that interview if you don't, want to be kind of disappointed with the amount of knowledge Peter McCormick has, which is zero when it comes to anything outside of Bitcoin. So, a couple other comments we got. I know I'm getting off the box. We're touching on YAM here in a second. We got Ethereum. We've got EOS, DeFi, NFT. So we got a ton more stuff to get to. We had a lot of people say that they're link holders. AdsCan2 is talking about Talos. So yeah, I mean, Talos is going to, I think, benefit if we see EOS kind of come up. And this was always the dream of the EOS community here, was as we see EOS and its ecosystem, and I use that term far too much. But as we see Wax, as we see Talos, as we see EOS, kind of, if one rises, that's kind of bringing all ships up. So definitely, if EOS sees more volume, more liquidity when it comes to this DeFi movement, and you see DeFi maybe move a little bit to EOS, I mean, Talos is one click away in that sense, and you know, AdsCan2 is talking about it there. So Serum's interesting. Dr. Trade's talking about Serum. Mike, our colleague, definitely got involved in the Serum ICO and definitely was appreciative of that. Did you have any information on Serum at all, Dima, or did you leave that one alone?
No, that's the one I kind of skipped. But Mike is the one that was able to capitalize on that one. I think what was it? Is it? It had to be on Binance, right? Or
yeah, no, it was on FTX.
Oh, FTX. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have access to that, so I can't really participate.
It will be. So CZ is interesting too, because CZ, we're so off topic this episode, but we appreciate you guys kind of following along. It's interesting. CZ tweeted out this morning that they're seeing more traffic now than they were seeing in all-time highs of 2017. So you're seeing more traffic on Binance. I was super salty I didn't get into the Sand IEO. You're saying that you couldn't get access to the FTX IEO. So I wonder what, I mean, that just seems like it's confirming that maybe IEOs definitely, like, they weren't around in 2017 really, but it'll be interesting to see during this bull run whether IEOs kind of make a comeback a little bit. So
I think in general, like all these ways of funding are coming back in the bull market, right? Because it makes sense, because people are making money from these tokens. Let's say they earn more ETH, and when you have these projects that come out, new projects that are looking for funding, those people that already made money, they're like, hey, listen, I already made some money, so I'm just throw in a couple of them into these other projects, right? So they're kind of free balling in that moment, in that case. So there's more money that's flexible right now, that's willing to be thrown around into new projects. You just have to be obviously careful with it.
Yeah, the bull case is all that's always made is when altcoins, and I don't know, it's like a chicken or the egg. I'm assuming the chicken. I mean, I'm not getting into that, but anyways, Bitcoin rising in price, and then that money flowing into altcoins, which then moon and then go back into Bitcoin. It's like this self-fulfilling prophecy, and that's what you hear from all the bulls. But at some point, the music stops. We just don't know when that is. But it is interesting to see those rotations from Bitcoin to alt, and then back into Bitcoin and back into Ethereum and things like that. We had a comment on Solana here, so we'll look at the Solana chart real quick. Solana is definitely one of those layer ones that has seen some interest. I think, again, as you see here on the 30-day chart, it's up 220%. We had Solana on the podcast a little while ago. That episode's still seeing good interest. That was actually a really good episode. I like what they're doing at Solana as far as layer one scaling goes, and I think they have the interest of the Ethereum community, which is what you need. I think you don't need, but it definitely helps. It helps support your layer one as you begin, in your search, for adoption. So Scott's saying, what's Solana? Yeah, that's a good question. Solana's another attempt at a layer one scaling solution for Ethereum. So much like EOS, they are trying to handle that, and they're building their own community. They have a lot of good backers too. I don't remember exactly. But
yeah, it's a blockchain decentralized ecosystem. I think it's the first blockchain decentralized scaling Yeah, we did have an episode with Solana, so you can go back, and watch that episode. That's going to give you lots of info. So we still have lots of things to discuss. I think are you ready to move into some of these yamming?
This has been the craziest episode I think we've done is from like an information overload standpoint. So we're sorry that it's all over the place, guys. We appreciate your chatting. Leave any DeFi projects that you're kind of into right now, or any other projects like you're dropping Solana there. But yeah, let's talk about something that happened 7 days ago, but seems like a year ago. Go ahead.
Yeah. So YAM, right? So most of the people kind of familiar with the YAM situation. It was one of those DeFi projects where you could farm YAM, and it was doing pretty well. It had, it was actually impressed by their UI. So
Mm-hmm.
when you go to YAM Finance, it was pretty easy. Like, hey, listen, here you go. You can deposit like compound and start farming YAM, and it was priced at like $100. I believe when YAM kind of came out, it started like at like $50, then moved to 100 quickly. Yeah, and it was kind of like a meme, right? Everybody was like, saying, hey, it's kind of like a meme, but it's funny how that meme itself became like, so value. It doesn't really matter what the token is called, as long as there's functionality and price behind it. It's gonna perform. And Arthur Hayes was actually farming as well with Compound.
Mm-hmm.
But turns out they had an issue. So YAM has this rebasing structure, right? So it's like it rebases because YAM's goal is to essentially be at $1 per YAM, and every time it moves higher, it rebases and rebases and rebases until it gets to $1, or as close as possible to $1.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem there is that what happened was there was an issue, there was a bug in rebasing. So YAM was like, said on social media, it's like, listen, there's a huge issue. We do have a patch. The community needs to vote on this patch before the next rebasing, or YAM will be lost forever. And everybody's like, what? Yeah, exactly. So some people got out, but it was interesting to see actually that some people did not get out. They actually started getting in. And you had to get like, I don't remember, was it 160,000 votes, I guess,
Yeah.
before the next rebasing. And it was interesting to see. So it was a true test in the of the community to bring together all the governance token holders, right? We always
Mm.
talk about these governance token holders, right? That how do you incentivize participation and so on. Well, this was a social experiment where basically, hey, there's a serious issue that actually is going to impact YAM, and we need everybody to get in and delegate to vote on this patch that is going to come through. And it was interesting to see how fast things were moving. People delegating it, people buying more. The price of it was like 150 at one point,
Mm-hmm.
$150. So they were delegating, and they ended up reaching the goal, and they ended up going beyond the goal. But turns out that that was not enough. There was an issue with the governance token itself, and the whole thing kind of, ended up
Collapsed.
collapsed. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they after the actual voting closed an hour before the rebasing was supposed to happen. So after the vote has been completed, the YAM team came out and said, hey, listen, there's actually a bigger issue here. And that thing just dumped. So
Mm-hmm.
people were getting out of it as quickly as possible. Rebasing happened, and now it's trading at 46 cents.
Yeah. And it's important to kind of so let's go into YAM Finance though, because it's important to kind of understand what YAM was trying to do. They definitely had the rebasing can be kind of similar to what was going on with Ample. So right, like at a current state, let's say an arbitrary number of 24 hours. Basically, what would happen is the price would try to find one. Correct,
Mm-hmm.
because they were
Yeah.
looking for a stablecoin. So if you had 100 tokens and they were trying to find one, basically what would happen is again hypothetically, that number that price would go to one, but you would then increase the supply of your tokens by 100. That's what that rebasing structure is. So it's important to understand that as this token is going down, people are actually getting more YAM tokens. It's not like the price is going from $150 to $1 and there's no rebase and there's no additional supply. So I think that's one thing I want to put up front.
I just wanted to mention on top of that. Yeah, I forgot to mention that because it did have a correct rebase in one time. So it was trading at $110, and then it had rebase and it was at $11.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked at the chart, I was like, "Holy crap!" I'm holding YAM, and this thing was like at $100, now it's at 11. I was like, "What the hell is going on?" And then I look and I have more tokens now.
Mm-hmm.
So the tokens,
successfully rebased.
Yeah.
So again, and then the last part I want to touch on before we kind of like have that separate discussion about the situation is the YAM was essentially one of the first to actually like, I wouldn't say make DeFi easy, but the UI was so easy to actually deposit or stake, quote unquote, and then earn YAM. So they had this UI here that I pulled up, this dashboard, where depending on whatever you were in, so and I like how they have the nicknames for each one. So if you were in Wi-Fi, if you were in Wrapped ETH, if you had Link, you could basically stake these tokens, and goddamn, there was a ton of people. I mean, the total value that was locked, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but instantaneously within an hour or two, hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's funny because at the beginning of you talking about this, I pulled up the YAM.finance website, and the first thing it says is this I think it says audits none.
Yeah.
And like unaudited code, 300, 400, 500 million of dollars or cash or capital or whatever have you into this system is unreal. But it was because people were chasing this by depositing or staking maybe Lend or staking maybe Aave and getting the YAM in return, trying to chase the kind of zeitgeist of what was happening at the moment. So yeah, like again, I'm gonna go back to it. This happened 7 days ago, and it feels like it was a month ago. It like so much stuff has happened up to this point, but it was such a crazy like 24-hour, maybe even 6-hour period where they were trying to get everybody together, and then realized there was something wrong off in the code. And so the story here that we have up though is about this migration, right?
Yeah.
So what's going on with the migration?
Yeah, so after like we've learned what has happened here, and by the way, speaking of audits, I also want to mention that once all this money got locked up, I think the community or somebody ended up paying for an audit, right? So it's like instead of you paying for audit when you come out with new contract, you can just get the community to do it once it blows up, because at that point you have to audit it, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so this migration. So what's next for YAM, right? So some of the whoever holds YAM in chat, let me know. I am one of the holders as well. We do have Zach that's holding YAM. He was participating in saving YAM. But what's coming next is so they're working on a solution where they're gonna create YAM v2, which is going to be a migration token. So and you have to really, for those that do have YAM, you really have to keep up with their community or with their news announcements, because the YAM v2 is going to be going through an audit period right now. And once they do release it, they'll be anywhere between 24 to 72 hours that you will have to switch your old YAM to YAM v2. If you miss that window, you're pretty much done. So you have to make sure that you get in and switch to YAM v2, which is going to be a migration token. It's not going to have rebasing. It's basically just there until the YAM v3 comes out, which is going to be basically YAM v1 that's doesn't have any bugs, and then eventually you'll shift from YAM v2 to YAM v3, which is going to be what should have been the originally YAM1. So it's interesting to see that they obviously see that the community is there. People were delegating the troops rallied quickly to save it. And like you mentioned, the UI is very easy to use and gain popularity. So they see the potential for this to run further. And there's a lot of community members that are helping them with this migration and so on, because a lot of people are still sitting on YAM. And I think this thing will make a return as well.
Brandon's in the chat. He's saying, I made it, sup lads. Brandon, we're talking everything YAM. right now, talking everything DeFi. I think that's a great point. I mean, I will say that there's a ton of value still locked in the YAM, in the YAM platform, and they're not gonna let that go away. Like it's too easy to have an update or have a fork and say, okay, all of YAM 1, even though this kind of blew up in our face, we can take a snapshot of the current YAM holders and they have to do some type of action, and then now we have YAM 2. So definitely an interesting thing to follow, but it was a good experiment on governance and kind of getting the community all of the just kind of all involved, essentially.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say on DeFi, man, is Matt, one of the lads that we have in the community, he tweeted out that DeFi is almost becoming, and this had more to do with the gas fees than what we just talked about, but DeFi is almost becoming a whale game. And gas fees aside, I think DeFi is starting and has always been something that's so kind of abstract that we kind of like, I don't know. There's just an argument to be made that maybe it's going to become more of a whale game in the future before it becomes more usable for those outside of, those that are really up to date on what's going on.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, really, the whales are making quite a bit of money because they can take advantage of farming, right?
Yeah.
So for them, they're not necessarily buying that token, right? And they're farming it.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, I actually have to take this off for a second. If you can carry us, if you can go through some of the comments, I'll be back in about 15 seconds.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Let me see. So going into just to wrap up some of the DeFi stuff here real quick. Let me see. So we did talk about a little bit about Curve. Just so you guys know, there is now 1 billion in total value locked on Curve. So that's for them Curve bulls. You should consider that. And also when you do analyze Curve and where it is as far as the locked value and where the market cap is, that's something you should definitely consider. How much of it is locked in there. So and I'm just wrapping up here DeFi really quick before we get into the rest of the stuff. I guess we already did cover the DEXs that are booming in volume. So that looks like is all good.
Okay.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll get to Aave, I think, in a second, because they have a lot of things that they're doing with loans and kind of credit delegation. You didn't touch on that yet?
No.
Okay, so we'll touch on Aave there in a second. Guys, this part of the discussion is going to be kind of dedicated to Voice. So Voice obviously launched over the week to the public. So essentially, if you were a beta user, you had 10 invites that you could kind of give out to the community, essentially. So if Dimitri wanted to reach out, he would just give me name, email, username, and I would basically be able to send him a invite, and he would get that, And so this Voice launch happened. It was kind of the news that we were waiting for on August 15th, which left a lot of people kind of wondering if EOS would ever kind of make an announcement that would actually be legitimate. I think we had it from Eve. We had it from a lot of the community. I know Everything EOS put on this awesome podcast where it had a lot of people within the community. I think Max Show was in there. Just a ton of EOS guys. They had a great episode, all in kind of preparation for this announcement that was going to happen on August 15th. And then we really didn't get one. We got that Voice was launching, but we already kind of knew that. So Block One has this history of kind of rolling out these announcements and then not really having anything to follow through on. So regardless, the EOS price pumped, which was interesting to see. There wasn't any dump like you saw with the Voice launch last June. But Voice launched. It is a really seamless app. It's a fun app to use. I think they're starting to, at the end of the month, roll out a reset of the Voice tokens. So what you'll eventually see is people will be able to earn Voice tokens and start to maybe sell those on an exchange that's mainnet on EOS based. So definitely really cool to see Voice launch. We'll see outside of the crypto community, outside of the EOS community, what type of traction that has, but they're running on this platform of not being able to create fake accounts. We've already seen some users kind of bypass this by creating two fake accounts or another fake account via like a I believe Crypto Pickle actually did it. There were a couple others that actually created accounts via the system, and that was kind of what Voice was running on. So they'll definitely have to answer some of that. But by all accounts, it looks like this Voice launch did go as planned. There was kind of a downtime in UI for a little bit, but that can occur on launch day. So this happened. It looks like Brandon is saying, Q, hit me with the voice invite. Perfect, Brandon. I got you, man. I'll send you an invite. Go into the LADZ chat after the episode, and I'll get you one. Young Content says, voice KYC kills me. Yeah, it's tough for me to talk on this subject because I signed up for voice a little while ago, and you needed to actually take a photo. You need to have the government ID. But some of these processes have changed since I signed up. So, again, they're running on a platform that is not going to censor you, although we'll see how that works. We've talked the decentralization spectrum with social media before and how that can get kind of sticky, but also kind of the idea that you can't create fake accounts, won't have bots, real people, real voice. So we'll see how voice goes on forward. Interested to see how voice connects the rest of the EOS ecosystem. That's the biggest thing. If voice can pull in users into EOS that use other products, maybe they have their voice and then they go to a EOS-based exchange to trade into USD. Maybe that USD flows into other products. That's what I'm interested to see. Voice as kind of an introduction to EOS to outside users. So we'll see, man. I'm definitely interested. But leave comments in the comment chat here about what your experience has been on Voice. It does have some aspects that I would like to be changed. It's tough to kind of have a Twitter feel where you just follow. Maybe I follow Dimitri, maybe I follow Brandon, maybe I follow Young, who I'll get to in a second. But you don't see their post only. It's just an interesting kind of design concept there where that you can search by other things, but it's mainly just a splurge of content. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think Brendan is right. They did adjust the KYC. I don't think you need to do much of KYC at the moment. I think it might be like something that's like phone number or something only.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a situation where you can only create one account. So they have to have some. I think they did roll back. I think early on in the process they rolled back like having the government ID. They got way too much flack for that.
Yeah,
but yeah, what's the I'm interested for the guys that have done this recently. What the KYC is at the current time. So yeah, voice launching is big for EOS, man. It's just another and Brendan and Dan, who you'll get to in a second. They've been talking on EOS and not just EOS IO. So having voice come to the EOS mainnet will then be another win that they can put up under their belt. So Brandon's saying, I think there's going to be a lot of apps that use voice certified users for easy sign-in and proof of real person. Exactly. So the exact point that we were making, you're right on it, Brandon. So Young Content saying, what's up, homies? Hey, what's going on, man? We're just having a good time here on this Monday. Dimitri's going to get to the rest of the EOS news. I think this is your first time hitting EOS news, so we'll see.
I know, right? Yeah. So this has to relate with Dan Lermer. Obviously, Q is excited. Dan Lermer is back in action and starting to tweet and fight back. Yeah, exactly, on certain questions and issues that people bring up. Because essentially EOS came out saying, "Hey, listen, EOS is actually something that was designed for DeFi, and Ethereum is actually it's kind of garbage when it comes to DeFi and the gas fees and transactions. The order books on Ethereum, very sluggish and so on, right? So Dan Lerman talks about how EOS is just so much better in that area, and they've been kind of involved, I guess, a little bit in DeFi in the past, and how in general, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, EOS is working on DeFi projects right now, right, that are going to be released on their platform. So all of that stuff is happening, and it's just in general, you see a lot of these protocols that do have advantages over Ethereum. They're coming out and saying, hey, we can do this DeFi stuff much better, and we're waiting for something big to be set up on these protocols like EOS. that will attract, maybe yield farming and so on that protocol. But we haven't really seen that just yet, right? So it seems like it's still concentrated on Ethereum, even though there are certain issues on that protocol. So I think the best way to do this is if we do see really nice yield farming opportunities on EOS, with tokens that are starting to return quite a bit of money, like we've seen in ETH, like where tokens do like 10x and so on, right? Then yes, that will have people, probably start migrating and start participating in EOS as well. But if we look back, let's say during the ICO era, where ICOs were mainly on Ethereum, and then let's say the other protocols that were coming out trying to maybe do um, fundraising functions as well, they weren't as successful, even though Q, you were involved in something where EOS was kind of set up where it had EOS specific tokens, right? Like, I don't know, was it like Bet Dice or some others? Remember that, like, you could hold and they were specifically to EOS, and they were actually pumping quite a bit, right?
Yeah, what you're mentioning is actually DeFi before DeFi. So when we had that DApp kind of situation happen at the end of I believe 2018, where we kind of had all these DApps come out and basically you could stake your tokens and get EOS in return. That was liquidity mining in and of itself a little bit. So definitely a situation where we saw that happen on EOS, but it was quickly kind of and swiftly stopped and canceled. That was because it didn't have any type of primitive past what it was actually doing, which is how I think most people view DeFi right now, is that you're just having a situation where you put in tokens and you can stake, and now you get other tokens back out. But what's happening on DeFi, which we'll get to in a second, is a lot different. And it adds DAO mechanics in areas where you can actually bootstrap communities. That wasn't the goal of EOS dApps whatsoever. It was just literally, let's get all the money on here. Let's kind of have that liquidity mining set up, and we're just going to try to cash out as soon as possible. Like, there was no extra primitives or features being added to these dApps. It was essentially like, let's just stake and see how much EOS we can make before this all collapses.
Yeah, which is interesting, right? It's like, well, isn't that kind of like, why would you do that? Like,
Well,
so
when you're getting an APR of 200%, 300%, 1,000%
yeah.
in a bear market where nobody's seeing anything, it was like a little mini bull run for a little while. So, but at the end of the day, I think it was a little bit bad for EOS, if I'm being honest. I think that was a little bit of a stain, although a small stain. Yeah, I mean, there's DeFi going on EOS in small batches, and I think Vigor is one. Vigor's a stable coin that has a governance token. I could pull it up here. That's done pretty well. Now, it's listed on CoinGecko, so you can see here that let me switch this to max. So it was listed on CoinGecko in January 2020. So since then, it's seen massive price appreciation. I think it's at 1 cent about now, so almost like 1 cent and a quarter. And at the beginning of 2020, it was at 1/10 of a cent. So definitely some price appreciation there. DApp is another one to look at. I think DApp is a team that's is like a layer 2 project that's trying to port ETH projects and kind of bridge ETH projects to the EOS ecosystem. And you'll see those parroted by the EOS community, right? Like definitely DApp. I know you've heard of DApp, but Vigor is one that will become more and more known. Yeah, man, like regardless of my feelings and my bias, and I if I have any bias toward any chain, it's EOS, just because I've been in the community, but I love ETH. I love what's happening on Polkadot's going to be a great one. You want to attach yourself to a rocket ship. Any project launching on Polkadot's going to be good. But just regardless of EOS, like imagine one of these scalable chains having a Uniswap on a scalable chain. Sub-second trades, just what kind of degen would go on? And I want to throw this your way. What would Uniswap look like with sub-second trades? Would there be any negative to that, or would we only see like 10x what we're seeing now if you saw usability on Uniswap like you would see on a Uniswap built on EOS, built on Solana, Polkadot, all these scalable chains?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it would be beneficial. Like one thing that one thing that I want to mention is that everything's kind of good and peachy. Nobody really cares about significant gas prices at the moment, is because things are kind of going well right now and things are going up, right? So the real testament, and really it's going to open eyes for everybody, is that if we do get unwinding, and the credit markets in the DeFi are going to start unwinding with the margin calls, with the loans and lending and all that going on, that will be huge, right? So, because of the unwinding of margin calls that can occur if the market starts turning around, uh, that unwinding itself will clog up the network, and the gas prices will go through the roof, where it's going to cause something where it's like negative balances, where the gas price is going to be way bigger than the actual position itself. And that's when you probably have a bunch of these protocols come out like, well, if you've done this on EOS or whatever, this wouldn't happen, and which is true, right? But people didn't really care about that when things are going up. They only care about that when it's in their face, and when it's unwinding and everything.
Hmm.
So I think that moment will come, but for now, people are not putting too much emphasis on it, I
Yeah,
guess.
so getting back to the original point that Dimitri was making with Dan's tweets, I think the original discussion was going to be on maybe what success metrics voice could look for, like what is success for voice,
Mm-hmm.
like that was the original discussion I was trying to have, but it's kind of abstract. So I think we had like a discussion here more so along the lines of what does success look like for DeFi projects that are on other scalable chains and what that looks like if they were carried out. So, I mean, that was a good discussion. I think I'll wrap a bow on this a little bit by saying I wish Dan would be a little bit more uh, cordial with the other chains. I think he was throwing a little shade at ETH there, where I think in order to get people to start using this stuff, especially those that are on other chains, you should probably be nice to them and not
Yeah.
talk shit to them, because I don't think they're going to be listening if you talk shit to them. But other than that, I appreciate Dan and Brendan, getting back on Twitter and leading this community like they should have been doing the whole time. So, okay, the last bit of news. I think no, I actually think we're out. We're out of EOS now, so we'll get to Ethereum. We're out of EOS. We're out of discussion. So we'll touch on Ethereum real quick. This is basically a social, guys. We've been talking about the LADs for a little bit, and you guys here, if you're not a LAD yet, you can go to the description there, get into our Telegram group, our LADs community, and we'll get you an invite there. But this is going to be a social token kind of coin market cap. It's a social token, personal token currency aggregator, created by someone who does have their own social token. I believe it's Swag. Carlos is his first name. So, real quick, I wanted to show you guys this. Basically, what you have here is a conglomerate of the largest social tokens, and LADs hopefully will be making an appearance here. It's forefront.news/market, and you see Whale on here, you see Jam, you see Swag, you see Karma, just some of the big Alex tokens on here. Obviously, you see them by market cap, you see by price, 24-hour percentage changes. But the reason I bring this up is hopefully once we get, and I won't say hopefully, this will happen, LADs will be on this market. And it'll be a great way to check the success of LADs in comparison to other projects. So you see the market caps here. Swag is at 200,000. There's a couple on here that have no market caps. Don't know why that is. That's just an information gap there. But Whale having the biggest social token market cap at about 10 mil. Cherry is one. I believe she's like a cam girl who uses a social token. We know about Kerman. We know about Alex. Yeah, Whale has an interesting token economics, which leads to that market cap. It's backed by NFTs, so there's just a different aspect than what you'll see with LADs. LADs is more akin to what's going on with Jam, what's going on with Alex. So I don't know. Based on what you see there, Dimitri, what do you think about that social token aggregator, and where you think LADs will be?
Oh wow. Well, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of experiments that are pushing the limits with these. So some of them are very kind of need a little bit more clarity on how the use of the token is gonna be in whatever they're trying to do, right? Alex has been playing around with different kind of setups there.
Hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think at one point he was like saying something if you he should wake up early in the morning, something like that. So like he's really playing around with some of these token stuff where he can make him do certain things. um and some of these, I don't know how much of like functioning value they have, like, all right, what does this token do,
Mm.
really. So for lads, I think for us, it's going to be different because it's going to have a functional value, and it's going to have the ability for you to get into like certain areas, um like private groups where we discuss price action, NFTs, and like certain certain information within the industry that otherwise you wouldn't essentially have access to. So I think lads is going to be doing pretty well. If we're going to be added to this dashboard, it looks like the trading volume is 96,000
Yeah,
mark.
so as you guys go forward, man, and as Lads gets listed to Uniswap, you can track it most likely on CoinGecko, but also this market cap here going forward. But yeah, I mean, Dimitri's coming out the gate and throwing shade at the rest of the personal token market here. There's definitely like some usability with a lot of these. Some of them have more than others. Obviously, some are going to be gone in 6 months, and some are going to be sticking around, just like any other market that you see kind of in its nascent state. So we will see. It'll be interesting where lads will end up as we get this show cooking. But I definitely wanted to show you that again. All this social tokens, and Alex is a great example of using it as a personal token. But all these social tokens are going to be on the forefront of innovation. So we obviously live in the U.S. We have to be careful with what we do. But I think it is going to be a really cool kind of experiment. It's a really cool add and value add to the community. So we appreciate all the lads. We can't wait to get this started. We'll see lads here on forefront here in a second, but I can't wait for that. So that's pretty much the Ethereum news. There's obviously a ton more to get to in that ecosystem, but most of that is taken up by the DeFi sector. So we've got DeFi. I think Aave is going to be one that we'll get to, and then we'll touch on NFTs, which are going to be big. So do you want to touch on the DEX volume here? I think it says something about DEX volume in 7 days before I touch on Aave.
Yeah, we kind of briefly touched on this. So DEXs see more volume in the past 7 days than all of 2019, which is very interesting. Obviously, in 2019 we really didn't have the mechanics in play that we have with the DeFi and all that hype that's going on right now. So we can see why DEXs are pushing a lot of the volume. And obviously, if you break that down into percentage terms of like who's pushing more volume, you could probably say that Uniswap is the one that's pushing the most volume out of all of them. You can see that in the period between June and July, Uniswap trading volume increased by 7 times, from 6.2 million to 43.7 million. That's pretty much explains the setup there. And overall, the volume as far as the DEXs go, 46.9% of the total DEX volume is Uniswap. So you guys can see that 27.2% is Curve. I'm actually surprised. Why doesn't Uniswap come up with the token for themselves? Can you imagine Uniswap coming out with the token?
Yeah, it would. So this was a debate within the community because Curve was one of the major liquidity pools within the DeFi ecosystem for a little while and didn't have a token. So you saw what happened with Curve. Imagine what's going to happen with Uniswap. So Uniswap will eventually have a token. We'll definitely be looking out for that release. That will be an interesting week in DeFi.
100%. Yeah. Hopefully they don't get front run by a community member and then deploy their contract too early. Yeah.
All right,
But
so,
yeah, also with that being said, if the Uniswap is going to be coming out with the token, you got to be very careful when that contract comes out. You got to make sure, triple check that, because scammers will be working overtime to scam you out of your ETH by deploying these fake addresses and saying that's the Uniswap address.
yeah, easiest place to get that is probably going to be like a blog post from the team.
Yeah.
But it was interesting back in the day when we worked at ICO Alert. There were projects that got hacked, like on their front end, and somebody inputted like the wrong ETH address or like a fake ETH address. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of the 2017 version of that. All right, to wrap a bow on DeFi here, we've got Aave, who has been one of the best players within the DeFi space, and you've seen obviously that in the token as well. And Andre from YFI is in like some type of love affair with Aave and Stanny based on his tweets. But Aave is planning to launch out version 2. So there's a lot to get in here. If you guys have come to this channel in like the last, I would say 20 minutes, you can see the description and kind of click on a link into the version 2 Aave. If not, if you've been here the whole time, we appreciate you. You can actually refresh your browser now, and we have all the links there for you, so you can look. But basically what Aave is trying to do here is build out more features on their platform. Again, what we're talking about here is being more than just a liquidity provider, being more than just kind of like this pump and dump, actually adding features, and the main one being fixed rates, the main one being private markets, being in their attempt in a partnership with Realty to actually bring lending and borrowing. We saw them roll out their credit delegation. That was big. So now you have lending and borrowers based on reputation. What they're trying to do now with version 2 is actually create more features for the platform. You see the price appreciation in the token. I think the community is definitely seeing that Aave is going to be one of the biggest players. Gas optimizations they're trying to do. So it looks like within their platform, you can actually have gas optimizations happening, which is, again, beyond my technical ability to explain, but I guess within their system they can have gas optimizations. The other thing that I liked, before I pass it on to you, Dima, so you can talk about it, is the governance aspect. So they're going to start having vote delegation, which hasn't been a thing up to this point on Aave's platform, but you will eventually be able to, with this version 2, be able to vote on the product updates or just general updates within the platform. So that's big. I mean, Aave's doing everything right, and I think along with Synthetics and a couple other players, these are the big ones that will be around. You know, the ICOs, you had a plethora of different kind of come out in that time frame, but there are some that are still around, a good amount of them. But the main players, there's, at least in this DeFi kind of craze, is going to be Aave, Synthetics. They're pushing out crazy updates, man. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously killing it. I was first concerned with the flash loans, and but it turns out to be a great success because it's kind of like what the prime is when it comes to traditional finance. So in traditional finance, we do have prime services where it's like, well, you have a credit line, and you don't need any collateral because it gets settled, within a short period of time. Those are also called as bridge loans. So that has been very successful for Aave, and they continue to roll out new functions within the platform. And we are planning to have them back on our channel so we can talk about the updates. Obviously, these guys are rolling out so many new features that we should be having them on our channel here shortly to discuss any updates and just in general DeFi stuff too.
Yeah, do you want to drop that announcement for everybody? Or are you still trying to iron out that date? That's a big episode. That's a big episode if we get to people.
I'm gonna tease it. So we're trying to lock in here. We're almost locked in as far as having Synthetics Kane on the episode, as well as Stanny from Aave. So both of them on. We can talk about general and DeFi and some of the stuff that they're doing on with their platform. So that should be a fire episode. We might get in maybe another guest that might be pretty big there too. So
yeah, we're trying to get the episode of all episodes together as far as DeFi is concerned. So it does require some foot traffic there from our end. So I mean, we'll wrap it up with Aave here. I mean, the last bit I'll look at is like the total value locked. I think is about to cross 1 billion, as well as the total users over time from January when it launched to having 0 users to now having about 15,000, which I'm pretty sure they judge as wallets. So I mean, there is some debate there. You always have to wonder how many wallets belong to one person and things like that. So just keep that in mind. But they do see that rise in total value locked, rise in users, rise in price. God knows I, dumped Lend during that first run up. I didn't think I would get back in, but we'll see where Lend goes from here. I think they're one of the DeFi tokens that you can kind of hold long term and kind of feel comfortable about it. Obviously, there's going to be short term fluctuations, but I think long term Aave Lend is going to be amazing, man. So that's it for DeFi, guys. If you are still here, let us know what the favorite part of the episode was, and we'll drop you 250 LADs. If you're not a LADs yet, get into our community and let us know that you want to get in there. We'll give you the invite. So click on that Telegram link. We'll send you the invite to our private LADs community. But if you are a LAD already, let us know what the best part of the episode was. We'll drop you 250 LADs. You have to let us know in the comments section.
That's a lot of LADs.
Yeah. So we've got Ola, the last comment I'll get to. The DeFi ecosystem needs to strengthen because it's leaving behind a shitload of worthless coins once the hype is over. So, yeah, very good point, Ola.
Yeah, I saw a tweet from somebody, I think it was from Flood. It was saying people will quickly find out that tokens don't have to go to zero to be worthless. And I was like, wow, that guy is always such a savage, man.
Who was it?
Flood.
I don't know Flood.
Flood is like this trader, Thinking USD at Thinking USD. He's one of the whales that trades BTC a lot. I really like his style because he's obviously falls into the category of being bearish, like bear. So he kind of fits my scene.
Amazing. Okay. All right. Well, we'll hit NFTs here, guys. Again, if you are in the chat and you are a LADs, basically all you have to do is comment in the comment section. Let us know what your favorite part of the episode was, and we will drop you 250 LADs. I think we'll leave that open to the first 5 that comment. So first 5 that comment, 250 LADs. All right, so we've got NFTs. I moved the ticker on over. We've got the Sand sale. So Sand, the token of the Sandbox, was on IEO, on the Binance Launchpad. I wanted to get in, man. I asked multiple times. I'm talking NFT Live. I'm talking Layer1Live. Nobody hit me up, probably because they were trying to max out their token tickets. Obviously, if you're doing a Binance IEO, you need to have the lottery tickets. Again, I wasn't part of that, but a ton of people were. It looks like 12,225 wallets took part in this Binance IEO. It hit Binance probably later that day, maybe in the next 24 hours, and it instantly 10x'd. So it went from a token price, and I don't have it up in front of me, but I think it went from a token price of like almost less than a penny to about 8 cents when it hit Binance USDT pair. And I think there were a couple other pairs. But that's all to say that the Sandbox had a very successful Binance IEO. Anybody that got in one of those 12,225 wallets had a very successful purchase there. Definitely interested to see where the Sandbox goes from here. They'll be rolling out a couple more of their land sales as we go forward. They'll also be adding utility to these Sand tokens as their world launches. But any thoughts on the Sand token here, Sand IEO?
Yeah, it's I mean, I was kind of excited about that too. I kind of knew I wasn't be able to get into that because of the lottery system there. But in general, just Sand. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm just waiting for it to when everything is going to be function, when the ecosystem is going to be there, when live, when can we use these, worlds basically to play in them and use Sand and so on, right? I just can't wait for that moment, especially right now. Like I mentioned already multiple times, that because of where we are with the COVID and everything, the conferences are not happening. There's many opportunities for these ecosystems that have virtual worlds to host some of these meetups, host some of these conferences, to bring more attention to Sand, to their ecosystem, to Mana and all of these, right? So I'm just really waiting for that. So for even though Sandbox did have wonderful sale, I'm more excited about what are you guys gonna do with this rather than just the speculation of the token price itself, right?
Yeah, no, that's 100%. I think they rolled out a couple articles that talked about Sand utility, so we'll see where that goes. I definitely parrot your point though. I mean, I want to see Sandbox launched. I think at this point, Sandbox and I think Blankos might look a lot alike, which we'll get to some Blankos news here in a second. But Play Blankos, the team, I believe that's under the umbrella of Mythical Games, which is then under the umbrella of Blizzard, is launching Blankos here, and I think it's either Q1 20. I know it's around the same time Sandbox is launching, and it seems like Sandbox would do well to launch before Blankos. They've done everything well. The team over there, Sebastian, as well as Yatsui from Animoca Brands. Guys, if you want to hear more from those two specifically, we've had them on. Scott's saying, great show, y'all. Scott, thanks again for stopping by. We appreciate it. If you weren't here a second ago, man, drop your favorite part of the episode. You can get some 250 of these lads. So we've got some comments to get to, but the last thing I'll say about the Sandbox, yeah, I'm looking forward to it launching too. It feels like we've been talking about them for months, which we have. So
yeah, they should have quite a bit of a success. Like I said, looking forward to see some of these like Sandbox. Once they're past the kind of price discovery phase, right? When we have these IEOs, right, the token goes to price discovery, speculation, and so on. Once it bases out, and the team start launching the actual platform, it'll be very interesting how it's going to end up.
Awesome. All right, we got some comments. It looks like we're getting some of these lads drops filled up. So we got Brandon saying his favorite part is EOS news, of course. He's also saying, I think I got an email saying current landowners are going to get a sand airdrop. That'd be nice. Cryptophasia, he's going to get his first lads here. He signed up recently. He's saying his favorite part was EOS DeFi and VIG being talked about. Ola saying, when will LADZ token offer DeFi yield farming? So Dimitri, I'm throwing that your way. When are we getting yield farming on LADZ, man?
Soon. Yeah. What happened to Crypto Pickle, man? Damn, he's late.
Crypto, I think we locked up, man. I think we're closing. This is closing time, so you might have to come back later. Just joking, man. Just joking. Great. Yeah, we're on NFTs, guys. Everything is going to be timestamped after the episode, so you can kind of go back and look at your favorite part. But we appreciate you guys sticking to the end. I think this has been our most popular Layer1Live to date. It's definitely been our most hectic. We had a crap ton of stuff to get to, so it's apologies for being all over the place with this one, guys. But we appreciate you staying till the end. Okay, so we talked about Blankos there. Big news from Blankos actually today that I want to drop here. It looks like Justin Kruger, a guy who has a white check mark or a blue check mark on Twitter, which what does that mean these days? Who knows? It looks like he is the former product manager at Ubisoft. He is coming over and is joining Play Blankos. It looks like I think it's as a community manager and a couple other things. So it looks like Director of Community is the official title. He is joining Blankos. He is joining Mythical to help push out this social sandbox MMO. It goes. I don't think much information was launched. It was just kind of a tweet. I think some people in the EOS community picked it up. But that's a big win. You got a product manager from a AAA studio like Ubisoft coming in to help Play Blankos as they launch. I don't know if there's an official date from Blankos on when they're launching, but it will be interesting to see. Those are both MMO type style, whatever have you, sandbox games, which is different than what we see on Decentraland and what we see on CryptoVoxels and a couple of other, I think Somnium. MMO is going to change the game a little bit, guys, because then right now what you're doing when you go into Decentraland CryptoVoxels is whatever the hell you want, which is fine. You could do that probably within Sandbox and within Blankos as we go forward, but with the added feature of leveling up, of starting items, of doing all this cool crap that all the MMO enthusiasts want, that's going to change the game. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, that's super exciting. I can't wait until this stuff gets released, and then suddenly you have on Twitch like all these popular streamers that are streaming this game that's like involved with the blockchain and all that stuff, right? That's gonna be huge. There's a game that just came out recently. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called like Fall Guys. It's like it's like the graphics is kind of similar to it's very cartoonish. It's very like kids oriented kind of game.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah,
where you're like racing up a ladder.
Yeah, that game is just like I mean it's just so simple, right? But it's like it's gaining traction and a bunch of streamers are streaming it, right? Wait until this stuff comes out. Like like I think once they come out and streamers start streaming it, it's gonna pick up so much in terms of like players and people getting in, and especially if there's some kind of a monetary value, or like something that you can mine or have translated into the token, and token can be translated into something else like that. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, the interesting part when you tokenize a game is the community that is within those games. Like Axie is probably the easiest example we have. Axie is more of the MMO kind of Pokemon mindset where you're actually leveling up your characters, and you've seen a community kind of grow within that. So I think that the streaming is definitely a great part, but I love the aspect of tokenizing a game for the community that evolves around it. I love that stuff. So great point though, man. I think I know you're going to be streaming some first person shooters if they can add a blockchain and kind of digital asset aspect to it. So all right, guys, last story here that we have for the entire day before we kind of wrap up here. We are doing a NFT live tomorrow. Myself and Ronan are going to be doing an NFT live during this KOGs sale. So everybody's been involved and seen what's happening on Wax. We had GPKs, we had Shatner, I believe we had Blockchain Heroes. Everything's sold out. So this is another Wax sale that you want to be a part of. This is interesting though, because I talked with Ronan, who is actually the community manager over at KOGs. So that's going to be an interesting live stream there. But this is going to be specifically interesting because they don't have a cap. This is what Ronan was telling me. There's no cap on supply. So it'll be interesting to see how many KOGs they sell. A lot of these sales that have happened on Wax have drawn interest because that supply has been capped, because it almost feels exclusive and you can get a secondary market. So this is kind of turning that on its head a little bit. I don't know, Dimitri, you're old man enough to have played Pogs in your day?
Yeah, I'm a boomer for sure.
Yeah, we have. So KOGs are obviously going to be like a digital aspect of a POG. So you essentially have a game mechanic where you have the I guess POG that hits the actual. I forgot what he called it, man. Again, I'm not a POG player, but definitely have this sale that we're going to look into tomorrow. Ronan's going to be there so he can explain basically everything to you guys as far as KOGs are concerned. But another Wax sale, man. You don't want to miss it.
What time is that?
That is going to be, I believe, 11 a.m. to about 4 p.m. So it's a long sale, again, uncapped. So we'll see where that goes. Brandon's asking what our opinions are on Ultra. Again, guys, huge ecosystem here. Huge. How do I even say this? I don't know anything about Ultra. I know Rami is working. Rami James, who created Scatter, is working at Ultra. So if it's good for Rami, definitely has some interesting aspects. But I have not looked at Ultra a single bit. So I don't want to say anything that maybe I'm not qualified to say. But if Rami's in that ecosystem, I definitely will keep my eye out for it. It's just so huge, man. We're talking DeFi. We're talking, EOS. We're talking all these different things. We can't be a expert on everything, but it definitely helps to kind of try.
Yeah, it's huge.
All right. Well, that's the episode, guys. I think it's been about an hour 45. We appreciate everyone up until the end. We're gonna run here for like another minute longer. So if you didn't even have that LADZ wallet yet, if you guys want to leave a comment, please do leave a comment talking about your favorite part of the episode. That way we know what to touch on next time, so that we can do that for you guys. But we appreciate everybody that's followed along. Again, our most popular episode by far. I think we capped out at like 31, 32. Thank you. Leave a like if it's your first time. Leave a subscribe. We appreciate you guys. Dima, you got anything for the end of the episode here?
Yeah, absolutely. Tomorrow, guys, Dimitri's desk at 5 p.m. Eastern. So hop in that into that if you guys want to know about price action. We can take a look at specific tokens and see what's going on there. So if you guys want to take a look at where your bags are, where they might be heading, definitely tune in at 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. I'll be breaking that down.
I will be there as well. We'll be looking into some more DeFi tokens, obviously, at least the ones that I want to be looked at. I will send over to you pre-episode. But, guys, again, we're building out this LADZ community, man. This LADZ token is going to have a ton of updates this week. We can't wait to get it to you guys. I think we have a bounty article that's going to come out for the lads that are here. A bounty article is going to come out here by the end of the day. That will have all the information you need to know to earn some more lads. But thanks again, guys.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys next time.
Boom.
Bang, bang.
200.